Welcome back to another explainer. So today we're diving into a genuinely fascinating approach to language learning. If you've been putting in the hours trying to improve your English, well, you're about to discover a complete playbook for fundamentally changing how your brain actually processes the language. We are going to break down exactly how to stop translating in your head and instead start thinking directly in English. Because let's be honest, that is the absolute key to natural, flowing speech. So let's get right into it. Have you ever struggled to speak English fluently? Look, you know exactly the feeling I'm talking about. You're right in the middle of a live conversation, someone asks you a question, and suddenly there's just this huge awkward pause. Your brain is practically scrambling behind the scenes. You actually know the vocabulary words, but there's this massive mental lag happening. The pressure is on, and the words, they just won't come out smoothly. It's incredibly frustrating, right? I really want to validate that frustration right out of the gate, because almost every single learner hits this exact wall. But to fix it, we have to understand exactly why it happens. Okay, let's dive into this. Translating every sentence versus thinking directly in English. The absolute root of all that frustration, that painful mental lag we just talked about, comes down to translating every single sentence from your native language into English. It is a clunky, incredibly slow, and honestly exhausting mental gymnastics routine. Just think about it for a second. You hear English, you translate it to your native tongue, you formulate your reply in your native tongue, and then, finally, you have to translate that reply back into English before you can even open your mouth. No wonder it takes so long. But the alternative, the thing we are aiming for, is thinking directly in English. It's smooth, it's lightning fast, and it happens in real time. The core reality here is that fluent speakers in the USA don't translate, like ever. They completely bypass that clumsy step, and they think directly in English. When they see a car, or say an apple, they don't think of the word in another language first. The physical concept is immediately and naturally linked directly to the English word. This direct cognitive connection, that is your ultimate goal. If you want to speak fluently and confidently, you absolutely have to align your brain to process the language exactly like this. Let's move on and see how this builds. To actually rewire your brain out of that translation trap, our source material outlines a highly practical 3-step playbook. Step 1, think simple thoughts. Step 2, describe your surroundings. And Step 3, watch American media. Let's break these down one by one. Starting with Step 1. You don't need to be debating complex philosophy in your head here. Start with the absolute basics. Things like, I am hungry, I need to study, or it's a beautiful day. This brilliantly illustrates how starting with the simplest daily thoughts trains your brain to process English naturally right from day one. By forcing yourself to generate these incredibly simple thoughts directly in English, you're laying down that foundational wiring. So whenever you have a basic human need or make a really basic observation during your day, try to catch yourself. Force the English thought to come first. And that naturally brings us to Step 2. Look at objects, people, and situations, and create simple English sentences about them. You're basically turning your daily environment into an active classroom by internally narrating everything you see around you. Look at your desk or the people walking by on the street and just narrate it. The man is drinking coffee. The car is driving fast. Just remember to do it silently in your head so you don't weird out your coworkers. It sounds deceptively simple, I know, but the cognitive shift this requires when you do it consistently throughout your day is absolutely huge. Memorizing textbooks versus building vocabulary and confidence. Think about the massive difference here. The traditional method of just staring at textbook lists, it keeps you totally stuck in a rigid translation mode. It just feels so disconnected from reality. But this active environmental observation completely shifts you away from that. By pulling your vocabulary directly from the real physical world around you, you organically build a very natural vocabulary. And far more importantly, you build incredible speaking confidence. Because when you finally do need to speak out loud about the real world, you've already practiced it in your head 100 times. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how we fuel all of this. Step 3 is all about high-quality input. To truly understand native thinking, you need to immerse yourself through American movies, YouTube videos, podcasts, and interviews. This isn't just about entertainment. Passive absorption of these specific media types reveals exactly how native speakers think and communicate. You're soaking up the natural rhythm, the conversational flow, and the authentic way the language is actually used in the real world, which is often way different from how it's written in a grammar book. But here is the real trick. Don't just consume this media passively while, scrolling on your phone. You have to be an active listener. Listen carefully to common expressions and try using them in your daily conversations. You really want to actively harvest these expressions, idioms, and phrases that pop up repeatedly. Then the real magic happens when you immediately apply them in your own real-world chats. Take that cool phrase you heard in an interview yesterday and deliberately plug it into your next conversation. That right there is what moves the language from your short-term memory directly into your active working fluency toolkit. Now, let's ground ourselves in reality for a second here. Thinking in English is not some overnight magic trick. You aren't going to wake up tomorrow suddenly thinking like a native speaker just because you narrated your breakfast one time. It is, by definition, a habit. A habit is a natural mental process that develops only with consistent practice. You are essentially building a brand new mental muscle. And just like going to the gym, doing one heavy lift isn't going to make you strong. It's the repetition, that stubborn, daily dedication to this practice that ultimately makes the habit stick permanently in your brain. So, the crucial point is you don't need to exhaust yourself to achieve this. 10 to 15, that's all it takes. Just 10 to 15 highly achievable minutes every single day. If you spend that small window of time actively thinking, reading, and speaking in English without any translation, you will see remarkable improvement over time. It's truly all about consistency, not burning yourself out with hours and hours of intense, boring study. As we wrap up today's explainer, I want to turn this back over to you and leave you with a provocative question based on everything we've just uncovered. What is the biggest challenge you face while learning English? Is it that pesky translation trap we talked about at the beginning? Or maybe it's just finding those 10 to 15 minutes of consistency every day. Take a moment to really reflect on your own personal journey. Identify that hurdle, apply this 3-step playbook to finally bypass the translation phase, and just watch how your fluency transforms. Keep narrating your world, keep building that habit, and keep learning. Thanks so much for joining us, and I'll catch you next time.